League sources are telling our Adam Schefter the Dolphins are preparing to fire head coach Joe Philbin. Sources said the organization could make the move as soon as today, but Dolphins owner Stephen Ross could always change his mind. Stephen A., you said this was going to happen. You thought it was the right move. You still on board with that? What's your reaction?
Absolutely. I think it would be an absolute. I think I'm not calling anybody names, but I think in this particular instance, Mr. Ross, the owner for the Miami Dolphins, let me be very, very clear, would be an absolute fool not to fire Joe Philbin. He has to go. And I say that with no joy, or I don't know Joe Philbin. I'm just going by what I see. And one of the things that I lean on, Skip Bayless, and I'll use this as an example, the Steelers a couple of years back started out 0-4. And I never forget one of my proudest moments watching Mike Tomlin was when he was standing on the sideline, and literally when the game was decided, he was watching guys come to the sidelines, come off the field, and one by one he made it a point to stand in front of them and look into each one of their eyes. And when they asked him about it later, he said, I want to make sure I know who's going to quit and who's not. Mike Tomlin, you hear how Ryan Clark speaks about him and other members of the Pittsburgh Steelers. To some degree, we hear that about Bill Belichick. We hear that. We heard that about Bill Parcells. We hear that about a plethora of other coaches. We also hear the flip side, the Philbins of the world, who had no business being the head coach. By the way, he wasn't even a coordinator, if I remember correctly. He was a position coach, and it's rare you see a position coach gets elevated to the head coaching duties. I believe that Joe Philbin is a knowledgeable football mind who can contribute to a lot of good to organizations. Maybe he could go back to Green Bay and work with Brett Favre or whatever. He has, Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers. He has no business being a head football coach in the National Football League. I do not believe he is a leader of men. I do not believe that he is somebody that can galvanize the troops and to inspire them to go all out. Although it wasn't as ugly as people want to surmise, the bottom line is they went to London, England yesterday and lost to the New York Jets, and after the meeting with the defensive coordinator, who definitely is going to go because the players can't stand playing for him, the bottom line is they gave up 160-plus yards to Chris Ivory, okay? And Ndamukong Suh looks like a shell of himself. Remember, he was in Detroit. He was telling his defensive teammates, this is what we're going to do. Here's what we're going to do. You go there, you go there, you go there. Now in Miami, he's just another name that, you know, another puppet for them, which is why he didn't answer those questions, even though I believe he should answer those questions because that's what you paid to do, play and answer questions. That's what being a professional is, but that's another subject for another day. The bottom line is he is clearly being misused. He's not being helped. He's definitely not being inspired. So you take all of those things into consideration, and considering the $149+ million that the Miami Dolphins spent in the offseason, you are coming up short. Stephen Ross's one shot to save this season is to fire Philbin today. I'm sad about it because I don't wish that on anybody. I swear to you. I don't want anybody to impede anybody's ability to take care of their families. But I'm sure he'll get a severance package, and before long he'll land someplace else with a job as a coordinator or position coach. He just don't need to be a head coach, especially in Miami. It is time for Philbin to go, and I expect, not hope, I expect Ross to announce that decision within the next couple of hours.
You think that would save the season for this team?
I think it's the only shot to save the season. I'm not saying it'll work. I'm saying it's their only shot.
Okay. I have thought Philbin was in over his head since, remember when Hard Knocks did the Dolphins camp?
Yeah.
Lost track.
With him and Ocho Cinco. Yeah, that really rubbed me the wrong way, too.
Me too.
Yeah.
Okay, the problem here is that somebody committed long-term to Ryan Tannehill as the face of the franchise quarterback. And that was a big mistake. And I said it before the draft, but right now Ryan Tannehill's QBR is 32 on a scale of 0 to 100. And yesterday on third down, Ryan Tannehill's offense was 0 for 12, and on fourth down, 0 for 4, a combined 0 for 16. He's not good enough to save the season. That's just me. I've said it from the start, and I've been consistent. So you got two big issues. You have a head coach, and you have a quarterback. You can't undo the quarterback, and I don't know who should be responsible for signing the quarterback. Was it just Philbin? Did Ross have a hand in that? Was it from the executives, the general manager? I don't know. But in the end, you also gave an astounding amount of money to a Sue who doesn't have leadership intangibles to me in the locker room. He is sort of his own guy. And as long as you let him do his own thing, I don't know about him calling out signals to the other defenders, maybe so. But
not signals. I'm just saying that he was telling guys where they should be on the field. That's what the other football analysts say.
Okay, but to me, he's not a leader in the locker room that you need when you pay that guy that much money.
Okay.
I don't think he was a leader in Detroit, and so he's not rubbing off on the rest of the team. So you have a great defensive lineman, though some people wonder about his effort from play to play. I don't know about that, but you have a quarterback who's not big time. So you're going to have problems. You could put another coach in there, and I'm not sure you could turn it around quickly.
But Skip, the thing about it is that all the aficionados say that he was worth the money because of what he means to that defense, clogging the line of scrimmage, neutralizing your running game. I think the indictment against Joe Philbin is that they're running all over the Miami Dolphins. They can't stop the run to save their life. Ryan Tannehill being overpaid, I personally don't think he's overpaid. I think that when you look at the $45 million, considering the money that's being doled out, the fact that Jay Cutler is guaranteed $9 more million than Ryan Tannehill, I think he's somewhat of a bargain. I just think that you have to put the necessary pieces around him. You can't bring in Wallace and expect him to do his Hardline is gone as well. You had him in there. He was supposed to be something. Yep. You know, you just look at the personnel decisions that were made. Skip, it's almost like they're lifeless. And let me tell you something right now. And I know it's just something on the periphery, and people don't take this into consideration. But I'm going to tell y'all again, and people need to learn to listen to me when I say stuff like this because it's important. Where you play matters sometimes. You can't be in South Beach with those distractions, and you ain't ultra motivated. You have to be. A Kobe Bryant can play in South Beach. A Kevin Durant and a LeBron and them, they can play in South Beach. Dudes who are full. Russell Westbrook can play in South Beach. But you can't have somebody that's easily distracted.
I get it.
And they're in Miami. All I'm trying to say to you is that when stuff like that happens, you got to have that extra motivational skill inside of you when you don't have the personnel that fits that. Philbin ain't that dude. That's my issue. Tomlin, if coaching Mike in South Beach, he could do that.
Okay.
You need people like that.
But at 0-4, he still had Big Ben. Right?
I understand that.
So you're okay.
I understand that, but I'm just saying when things were falling apart, cats didn't go out there and give up. You got guys calling out the defensive coordinator. They tweeting about being gone. And, you know, all of this kind of stuff going on. In the middle of the game, you can't have that.
Nope.
They got to go. Coach got to go. Got to go.
Like the Eagles, this Dolphins team, a lot of people were optimistic going into the season that they were going to be very strong. Now they're sitting at 1-3 in the AFC East. After the break, Jay Cutler leads Chicago to their first win of the season. Woohoo! How impressed is Stephen A. by the Bears franchise quarterback? Can't wait for that. Find out next. More football tonight. Don't miss Monday Night Football when the Lions travel west to face the Seahawks. That's tonight at 8:15 Eastern on ESPN. Breaking news. Miami head coach Joe Philbin has been fired after their loss yesterday to the Jets. That was across the pond, of course. Dolphins tight end coach Dan Campbell will step in as the interim coach. Stephen A., I know you're not surprised by this one.
I'm not surprised by it. I'm not happy by it. The fact of the matter is that it had to be done. With all the money you spent in the offseason, you had to make a change. He is not the right man for that job.
You know, maybe Dan Campbell that you mentioned is a bright young coach, former third-round pick of your New York Football Giants, tight end. Remember him out of Texas A&M? Played for my Cowboys briefly. But to me, this ship is already sinking into Biscayne Bay. I don't think you can turn this season around. You think this could save the season?
I think this was the only shot that you could save the season.
Okay. And yet, a number of analysts did pick this team to actually win the AFC East. I thought that was just crazy. Again, I think they're hamstrung at quarterback, and somehow Sue hasn't had the rub-off effect on the defense that a player of that kind of salary should have. That's just me.
We'll see what happens. I'm curious why they didn't wait till the end of the year. I don't know how there's that much of a turnaround right now.
I think there's a lot of pressure on this team because of the money that was spent, especially on Sue.
And like you said, high hopes coming into the season. I know you weren't high on them. I was.
Not only that, you can't have changes in New York, changes in Buffalo, and Deflategate, and you end up in last place after all that chaos in the same.
Yeah, that's true.
No question. Great job today, gentlemen. As always, tomorrow Charles Tillman will join us for Skip Bayless, Stephen A. Smith. I'm Molly Karam. Thanks for hanging with us. We'll see you guys tomorrow.